I have both criticisms and praise about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The following is going to be mostly criticism, unfortunately. Although I believe I can make an argument that is notable, even to die-hard fans of the remake series. So let's begin. I want to make this very clear. You can have a retcon and still be meticulous of the source material, or in this case, how the fans perceive the source material. A typical defense of these retcons is that the developers are attempting to walk the line between being faithful to the original game and fleshing out their previous vision, which was heavily impacted by the limitations of the hardware at the time. But there seems to be this attempt to modernize the game in just such a way that leads them to having to change or justify other events or circumstances, which leads to even more changes and so on and so forth until they are stuck with whole scenarios that just take away from what fans adored about the original. After Remake, I was excited for more. Simply couldn't wait. I viewed the errors of the games as additions amidst an otherwise perfect game. I had a small list of minor gripes, which after Rebirth turned into major gripes, and they had only increased with the size and scale of the game. And for the record, a lot of the complaints I see when watching other YouTube reviews of Rebirth aren't exactly my own. I can understand some of them, while others seem like nitpicks to me, or things that I am entirely unbothered by at all. I'll never invalidate a solid argument. Everyone is entitled to exactly what it is about these games that doesn't sit well with them on a personal level. That brings me to what I regard as Rebirth's biggest flaw. Something I don't hear a lot of other reviewers talking about. It's that there is a crippling lack of care in preserving the mood and emotions within environments and key events. Let me explain. Just like in Remake, everything is bigger and grander in Rebirth. And to an extent, that's fine. No, it's more than fine. It's expected, welcomed, heavily enjoyed in most cases. But the cases where it's not really break my heart. There were a lot of memorable story beats and locations in the original game that have gone too far off the rails in Rebirth, to the point of changing the meaning and feeling of entire hour-long or more segments of the game. My biggest example is over the abundance of glitz and glam thrown everywhere. It's as if anytime there's supposed to be a scene with impactful emotions of solitude, helplessness, pain, loss, or fear, it is immediately drowned in a glittery happy dance party, complete with rainbows, unicorns, sparklers, and upbeat big band music. Or in some cases, a very unnecessary big anime boss fight. But I'll forgive those, as the combat is easily one of my favorite aspects of the game. Even so, they tend to happen a little too much. Almost as if to say, oh, you weren't immersed in the story? Let's get you back to fighting again so you stop overthinking all the changes made. The super fun time excessive look how awesome everything is now made sense in Remake. Albeit overused there as well, it was still contained for the most part. I think Wall Market, as an example, would have greatly benefited from saving all that celebration and wonder for just the Honeybee Inn, and not turned the whole town into a dazzling casino party center. Sure, there was an alleyway, with a couple of tough guys doing tough guy stuff? But the dirty looks and check your wallet thing was supposed to be the majority of Wall Market. They should have kept the grit. The shady, watch your back, rough and tough criminal nature that existed in the original game. The same sort of lack of care for the vibe occurs all over Rebirth. How about Corel Prison? No, seriously, it's bad. And to make matters worse, they set it up perfectly right. Cait Sith gives a spooky explanation on the elevator ride down, followed by being ambushed by outlaws. This was the right way to set it up. And what happens next? A big ol', hey, I'm the bad guy, and you have to do what I say, but I'm not really that bad, because you need something from me too. With a big budget, shimmy your hips, carnival announcer atmosphere thrown up all over it. Hey, what if we made Mr. Coates obnoxious over the top instead of keeping the brooding feeling that this place is supposed to have? I'm sorry if you enjoyed all these big introductions, but it's simply immersion breaking. Because there was a pre-existing how you are supposed to feel in this place, or with these people, and it almost never comes across correctly in Rebirth. Instead of feeling helpless and anxious, hoping to figure out how to escape like you did the first time when you were thrown into the prison in the original, you are immediately treated to, don't worry about it. Looks like we can do more filler side quests and be right on our way. None of the foreboding and despair that set the tone in the original game. Hakuna Matata, it means no worries. And yes, while the guy holding the girls hostage makes a brief reference to SA as a means of compensating himself, the game makes sure you don't take this dude seriously. The threat is shallow. Did you remember him afterwards, or were you busy taking pictures and playing minigames? Just go on, do the usual stuff so you can move on. This area would have benefited by moodier music. After Coates and his funktastic tune, there is a scene with Billy and Esther that has a dark tone. But I can't count that as it's trying to convey some desperation on behalf of Billy and set up his backstory. Then, right back to regular town music for the rest of it. I just feel like the developers got so caught up in celebrating how intense and crazy they can make these things that they forgot what sort of emotions are meant to be evoked by the world we are playing in, or couldn't bother to recreate that feeling at all. Sometimes, less is more. This game takes the limelight from these moments that are supposed to be somber or anxious and gives it that fantastic maximalism fireworks show they love so much, just because they can, without any regards to whether or not they should. It's a shame, because there's suspenseful or depressing moments in the game that get executed with absolute perfection, but they don't ever last long. This game is nothing if not Whiplash. Corel Prison is just one of many places in Rebirth that felt pushed and tampered with. The problem with it is those moments in the original game, accompanied by their own individual feelings and situations, are part of what made it so memorable. I find rearranging and adding to the story less offensive than having the same story in parts, but desecrated to an unrecognizable degree. Despite all of this, I feel the need to say that I'm still on the hook. I do think Rebirth is an outstanding work of art in game design, and I look forward to Part 3. Let us know down in the comments how you feel about Rebirth, and thanks for watching.